So once we get a few people in, I'll push it live, and hopefully sound quality will be good enough to put it up as a podcast.
Yeah. Just pull that to one side so it doesn't.
How's the Iron Hands going, John?
Yeah, we had a cracking game last week with Chris that's going up this week. Yeah, I mean, they're good. They're really, really good. But I mean, I won't always. I mean, it's a coincidence that my homebrew chapter is has got kind of hands in the title, and I use kind of the symbols from Iron Hands. I'm not just going to totally jump on that bandwagon. I'll still use them for other bits and pieces as well. But yeah, they're very, very good. Like, if you tailored it to what their strengths are, I mean, we'll talk about it later in this a bit more when we get people in. But like, the stuff you can do there is crazy.
Do you think other armies have a chance against them?
I think a lot of armies are going to have a real hard time killing them, but that doesn't mean they can't beat them. That's the difference, isn't it? I think there's a big difference between killing somebody and beating them.
Yeah.
If your mission is to kill the Iron Hands, you might have a hard time. But if your mission is to beat them, there's ways to do that, and that's a big difference. But they are like some of their vehicles, like their resilient vehicles, kitted out in the right way with the right buffs around them, are near as damned to shooting fucking invincible.
Okay, so just remember on the language side.
No, but this is not going on YouTube because I haven't recorded it yet.
It is already on YouTube.
No. Oh, what, you've recorded from now?
Yeah, so the live.
What you like, Darren? You're going to give me a warning next time, mate.
Restream. Remember, Restream does it on all platforms. So
we're doing it straight away on.
Yeah, we're going.
Sorry, people, for my poor language. I do apologise.
If anyone has offended on that,
I'll keep it clean from now on. I promise.
Guys, if you are watching this live and you want to join in with the conversation, come join us on Twitch under as Twisted Dice TV, and yeah, come join us on that, because Facebook is going to be difficult to score on there. So tonight's agenda is going to be an interesting one, and we're going to label it 40k cheaters. You can probably hear that in the background as well.
I'm getting a bit of feedback there.
Yeah, I know what that is. Sorted.
Yeah. You sorted?
Sorted.
Sweet.
Cool. Right.
We got people kind of in. And stuff?
Yeah, we've got quite a few people joining us. So we've got 4 people on Facebook and Twitch. We have got. Now, for some reason, Twitch is not on the app. It's not coming up saying that we're online. There we are. So we've got 1 viewer on Twitch. So welcome whoever's joined us on Twitch. We really do appreciate it.
We do. We absolutely do. How is everyone this evening? All right?
So, hobby update. Let's do that first of all. So, John, do you want to hit the record?
Yeah, let me do the record. I'll let you introduce tonight, Darren. I'm feeling pretty tired, so I'm going to leave it to you. You seem like you're on form tonight, so I'm going to give you I'm going to hand the baton over to you. So we're going to see the silky smooth skills of Darren as we introduce the show. I'm going to start recording. Give us about 5 seconds after it goes quiet.
The creme de la creme.
Look at that shiny head. Welcome everyone to Wednesday night live stream on Twitch, Facebook and YouTube. I'm Darren, and tonight we're going to be talking that hot topic cheaters of 40k Iron Hands and SN No Retreat coming up very, very soon. Guys, you want to introduce yourself tonight? Sean's frozen in the background, so he must be in a dodgy place with poor internet.
Hi guys, Aceface here in the background, madly painting for the last few bits and pieces for No Retreat. So Darren's going to very much take centre stage tonight because I'm kind of head in paintbrushes and paints everywhere. But yeah, good to hear from everybody and see everybody and speak to people and things like that. So
what are you working on at the moment, John? What is on your desk?
So I'm playing with warriors, and Like literally, that's the unit that nobody's seen for many, many years. And I've got like lots and lots of painted warriors, but SM Battle Reports has a specific standard to what things need to be painted at, and they need to basically be lifted up a level. So I've repainted them, and I've got a few kind of final little bits and pieces to finish those guys. So I've got kind of 6 warriors that are sitting on the desk that just need kind of their rims, their bases tidying up. Some kind of like little sprues of little scatter of kind of dead grass and a few little tiny little
rims. Yeah,
easy. So a little bit of tidying up there, and then I've got some carnifexes to kind of do the final kind of glazes to kind of bring everything together. And I've got a neurophrope as well to finish. So I've got like nothing like massively extensive. It's just around kind of just getting everything sort of finished so it all looks nice and looks tight. So it all kind of matches together. So that's kind of my plan. I want to get it all kind of finished either tonight or tomorrow morning so I can kind of do my kind of photos and stuff like that. So you should see that on my Instagram. I'll also share that on the Twisted Dice Facebook page that you can kind of follow us over there. So you'll get an opportunity to see the finished army and what it looks like. So that's kind of like me tonight. So I'm kind of trying to stay on track with that. So if they go quiet, that's where I'm concentrating on lines.
So it's lots and lots of lines, lots and lots of lines.
Lots of blue lines, yes.
Cool, as long as they're not white lines. So you got some competition to go up against for the painting standards for No Retreat, haven't you? Are you looking to get into the best painted or
no, not this time. I had a good old push on it the last No Retreat that I was in, and I think I kind of got like 3rd best painted, which was cool, and I got lots of kind of great comments. And I put a lot of effort into that, and that was much more of a showpiece. I think I've pushed it more. I mean, the list is really fun and it looks really cool on the table, and I'm hoping the army will look really nice. But it's probably more of a gamey army than it is like beautifully painted. Everything's going to look nice and cool and up to hopefully to standard. But I've kind of, whereas last time I kind of threw that out the window and I went purely for it was the first one of 8th edition, and I wanted one that was, I just wanted an army that looked really cool and was using different stuff than we used in 7th.
Yes.
This time round, I'm going for something that is a bit more tried and tested. For me, it's still like really out there because people aren't running carnifexes generally anywhere else in the world apart from me. But
no, you're the crazy man that's running the carnifexes.
Yeah, I'm the only one that seems to be playing them, but I love them, and they're super fun to play, and they look really cool on the table. And I think they're really good, and I think they're really powerful. I think they're very anti-meta. They have some bad matchups, but I love the list. I've now played it a lot, so I'm quite experienced in playing this list, and that helps a lot as well. So that I'm hoping that's in my favour. But yeah, so.
But the thing is, you're going to catch a lot of people off guard when you start.
Yeah, no one knows what they do.
When you start putting all those onto the board, that's going to be like, oh wow, okay. It's going to be a bit of a shock.
Yeah, I think that's generally what people like. Same at the London GT, when I kind of like people are like, what does that do? Like people don't get it at all. So yeah, so I think. And it just looks cool as well. People like playing it as well because it's a bit different. So it kind of shocks people a little bit. They're like, "Oh, I've never seen that type of Tyranid list before," and that's quite cool. I like that.
Yeah, because normally it's all Gene Stealers rushing across the board, Kraken, flying Hive Tyrants, or and that's cool. And
I don't have any of that.
No, you don't, and that's the shocker because you're quite renowned for having loads of flying Hive Tyrants or your Swarm Lord causing a nuisance on the battlefield.
Yeah, that's why it's quite cool to play something completely different. I mean, like,
where did you get the idea for this list?
I've always wanted to play the Carnifexes. Like, I think when the Codex first released and they got like huge points decreases, I kind of thought it'd be cool to run because you could run them in like the like units for free.
Yeah.
But it was like kind of quite cool to like run loads of them. I always kind of thought that would be a cool idea. And it's kind of gone from there a little bit. And then I just like looked at ways how can I like absolutely optimize that type of build. So like in the high fleet, if you have things that fly, they lose the ability. So they lose basically the +1 to their save. So I was like, well, I want to play Hive Tyrants because they give me the synapse, they give me some psychic ability, and they're quite good in combat. So I was like, well, I know what, let's play them on foot. So it's been like a little bit of kind of an evolving list, but I've just been tweaking with from tournament to tournament, from kind of like game to game to kind of get what it is kind of now, which I think it's not as good as what it would be in 2K because obviously in SM Battle Reports is 1750, but the 2K version now I'm really happy with. So but yeah, it's a bit different. Like I spoke to a lot of other kind of Tyranid players that don't really rate it. The Carnifexes can be super hit or miss. Like they can be quite.
Because they don't have any invuns, do they?
Pardon?
They don't have any invuns.
They very rarely need them because unless you get them in combat, we're having a 2-up against shooting. Generally, most things like that are nasty, that are like masses of shots, generally a -2. So if they're -2, they put you on a 4-up, and 4-up is generally the kind of standard invon anyway.
Yeah, sure.
So they don't really miss the invon that much. I don't find. Yeah, they don't really miss it. I mean, the problem with them, if anything, is they're not amazing in combat because mine are very shooty Carnifexes. That's their kind of weakness.
How did they do against Marine lists? Because I'm assuming
they're amazing against Marines.
They're good against Marines, are they?
Well, they're very good against Primaris because they wound Primaris on 2s, and if they wound them, they're -2.
Yeah,
and then they're just taking a Primaris off the table. So like one Carnifex is like killing 3. Like even if at long range he's killing 3 Marines.
Yeah.
At close range, when I'm putting all the Devourers into them as well, you're making them make a lot of saves.
So maybe what we should be doing is getting a battle report with you and Sean.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get me wrong. Like the Marines are still pretty scary. Like I'm not sure whether I can 100% beat them, but it is quite good against. Like they're quite well. I did take that into account when I built the list. Was that it's quite good against Marines. I think.
What kind of lists were you coming up against? Then Marine lists were you coming up? Not to just dig into this, but like on the London GT, we were there a lot of like executioners on the table. Like what was the kind of go-to units really that you were looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't play any Marines to be fair at the LGT. Like there were lots there, like loads and loads and loads, but for some reason I did avoid them. But there were loads of the executioners, 100%. There were like loads of just people were spamming intercessors, like loads and loads of intercessors. Fair few of the Invicta war suits. There's quite a few of them knocking around. There was quite a lot of aggressors because bear in mind when the LGT was on, you couldn't play the Iron Hands, so most people were playing Ultramarines, and like aggressors are incredibly good in Ultramarines.
So is there any Iron? I'm guessing with the no retreat coming up, no one will have any of the Iron Hands will be in that.
Oh yeah, they are. So our good friend Stephen Pardo of SM Battle Reports, who is a legend, and we all love him to bits, did allow Joe. I can't remember what Joe's surname is. Joe Jones. That's it. Joe Jones. Lovely guy. We think we know him. You know him, don't you?
Yeah, I know Joe Jones. Yeah.
We like Joe. Top lad. But he had already chosen to use. So he had submitted his list, and he's taking Sons of Medusa, which are a Iron Hand successor chapter. Yeah.
I know the ones, the green and white ones.
Yeah, the green, lovely, really
was
nice
green
looking
and black?
army. That's right. So, but what Stephen said was he said that look, you can't change your list. Your list is set in stone now. But what you can use is you can use them as Iron Hands, and you can use the stratagems and everything else from them. So basically it means he can't tailor it now to knowing what he knows, but what he can do is he does get to use Iron Hands, and his list is very very good. His list is very good.
So it's gone from very very good to absolutely awesome.
Yes, yes, it is. It is absolutely awesome. I think he'll be a dark horse to take the whole thing because Iron Hands are that good.
Ooh.
Interesting. What's he got on his list?
He's got 3 of the Storm Talons.
Oh, okay, done. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, they're amazing because because they have no minuses now with Iron Hands. In the Iron Hands heavy doctrine, they no minuses to heavies that the Storm Talons used to have, and they reroll 1s in the doctrine. So they're running around, and they think they have strafing run as well. So if they're shooting anything on the ground, they're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. All their heavy weapons.
Yeah,
assault cannons.
But then the thing is, right? Ultramarines do the same when they've got the tactical doctrine on.
Yes, but they
Iron
can
Hands
only use it
from turn 1,
and the Iron Hands are using it on their heavy weapons. The Ultramarines are using it for their assault weapons. Yeah,
yeah,
and that's a big difference.
Ultramarines get it on every weapon, right? They count as if they're stationary.
Yeah, they count as if they're stationary. Yeah, but they don't reroll 1s, do they?
No, they don't reroll 1s. But what they will get is they will count. They won't have the minus, so they'll have strafe from 1 as well. So they'll be hitting on 2s.
Yeah.
But because the Iron Hands have a heavy doctrine that allows them to do that, they get -1 for heavy weapons, re-rolling 1s, hitting on 2s. Like those flyers are incredible.
Yeah, yeah, and they're only like 150 points or something. So they're
not expensive, not at all.
Yeah, they're crazy good. So he's got 3 of them, which is a good start.
Dreadnoughts?
He's got no dreadnoughts, but he's got 3 Razorbacks with assault rifle with assault cannons. He's got 3 Predators.
Still pretty good.
And then he's got like a load of troops. That's kind of his list.
Yeah, I think the flyers are the best thing in that list. If he had if he'd a Redemptor or if he'd a Leviathan Dreadnought with a 4+ in one, where he can put the toughness up by 1. Increase the save and then just revamp a lot of wounds, that would be a horrible little unit to go up against.
Yeah, it's kind of a little marine army, so it's not the it's no Primaris, it's all
little marines.
All little marines.
Yes.
Baby marines.
Baby marines, that's what let's call it. Yeah, so it's just them. So but it looks good. I mean, I said it's just he also obviously because again it was built before like the codex and stuff like that. He doesn't have the Iron Father, who like you're always going to take him, like generally.
Yeah, he looks really good in his rules.
Yeah, he's incredible. Like he basically gives everything like a 5-up inv around him.
And healing D3, just automatically healing 3 wounds straight away on vehicles. Yes, please.
For 110 points.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. That's a bonus. That's a bargain.
So I've got him. Have you got him, Darren?
What, the Iron Father?
Yeah.
Nope.
What? Well, John wasn't at the club then, was he?
No, and I wasn't down the club neither, unfortunately. The other half had to go. Was visiting a sick friend.
That's fine. I've not got time to paint him at the moment anyway. But yeah, make sure when you see him, you get my Iron Father.
I will indeed, sir. I will indeed.
We want to get him on the channel. You'll see the Iron Father soon. But yeah, he's super good. Like really, really, really good.
No worries. The Orcs were taking one. We've kind of got a bit of a rematch to do anyway, haven't we?
We have, because I cheated you, Darren, and I will take that. I will take that win away. I have not beaten you because I cheated so much. Like I can't.
Listen, at some point everyone's made a mistake, right? So.
Oh, I made too many. Like, yeah, I made too many. So, obviously nothing intentional because it is what it is. But yeah, I can't.
As you said, that sniggering as you was rolling the dice. I've got him.
John, what are you doing? Just tell me. Go on, cheer it anyway.
Right, I can tell you so much. So let me start. I'll tell everybody what I did. So, because you'll never see this battle report, which is a shame because it's still. I can't say it would have been the result, but you still got a pretty good idea of how good the Marines were. But anyway, so I didn't read a lot of stuff properly. So in the initial Marine kind of codex drop, basically, so I was looking at the kind of the build your own chapters. So with the build your own chapters, you can take any of the parent chapters, and then you can add a additional chapter tactic to them. So that's kind of what you can do. The exception for that is Crimson Fists.
Yeah.
Because Crimson Fists are already a successor chapter.
Okay.
But because they're in the list of like the main chapters, I just didn't read that bit. I just glossed over it and was like, all the other chapters' names are there. It must be everybody. And I completely neglected the fact that actually the Crimson Fists are not on that list. So basically, my first problem was I took the Crimson Fist rules, which is basically you get +1 to hit against anything that is that outnumbers you, which is cool. So that would still be a thing. And you get on rolls of 6s, you get an additional hit as well. But then there was, but then I then added on to that reroll 1s for bolter weapons. So I took that additional one. So against Darren's orcs, I was most of the time I was hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, and then exploding on 6s. But then on top of that, so that was my first mistake. Then
And you're
I
exploding
also
on 5s as well, weren't you?
Yes, yeah. Wait. I'm getting to that. So then I'll add to that the fact that I didn't read the bit that said unmodified rolls of 6s. So because I was +1 to hit against things outnumbered, I was exploding hits on 5s and 6s. So not only was I rerolling 1s that I couldn't do, I was also exploding on 5s that I couldn't do.
So these guys basically sound like the best marksmen in the world. Like they're all armed with rapid fire sniper rifles.
Never missing and always constantly whacking.
Yeah, so I was going to chew through orcs anyway with just that ability of +1 against outnumbering, but with the reroll 1s and exploding on 5s, I was just completely shredding orcs. But anyway, and so that was my first thing. And then my second amazing not reading the rules properly is with my chaplain, you have the litanies of war, right?
Yeah.
So one of the litanies is you get a feel no pain, right?
Oh, I've seen this one, yeah. But
So,
it's one unit, right?
No, it's not. No. It's still it's every unit, but it isn't just a standard feel no pain. It's a feel no pain against mortal wounds.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I used it against all wounds. So every time Darren was hitting me, all my units within 6 inches that I rolled my litany every single turn and got the 3+ on were all having a feel no pain. So Darren charged into me, was hitting me with loads of stuff. Not only was I getting like a 3-up save, but then I was getting a 5-up feel no pain on everything, including like my tanks. And Darren wasn't doing any mortal wounds, so I wouldn't have had not one of those. Like every single one was.
So I'm losing my shit. I'm like, what the hell? I can't hit these guys. And when I'm hitting, he's just saving them.
Yeah. So that was a serious cock up.
But of course, that one would never come. That would never go live. So you would never get to enjoy.
Thankfully, I caught it. Yeah, when I was starting to edit it, and then I started kind of talking to people. I was like, "This is amazing. This is so good. Why is not everyone else just taking this?" And they're like, "Well, you can't stack it on Crimson Fist." I was like, "Yeah, you can. You can stack it on any of the initial chapters." And they're like, "Well, apart from Crimson Fists because they're already a successor." And I was like, No, you can do it on any of them. Then I read it back and I was like, yeah. So that was, it basically it just got worse and worse and worse.
But
until the end,
to be fair, John, we only just got that codex. Like, it's only just in our hands. So
there are two things there I want to throw out, right? The feel no pain against mortal wounds is amazing against Tau snipers. I use that as a turn, that one that you guys ran. So that's like I'm fully behind that. Like if people are dropping down orbital bombardments and they're going to hit you with all these snipers, like those 5s and 6s will definitely come in and help you.
It's still really good. It's not quite as good as a standard feel no pain against the whole everything in your whole army.
Well, the second one is I obviously dropped that last battle report, and then I spent 2 days at the tournament, and people were telling me like all these stratagems, how good it is. So we've gone 2 days. I'm really tired. I'm not. I've obviously got like it's me. I've got some like Debt Watch in there as like Ultramarines, Primaris Marines, and then I switch over to my normal like Baby Marines, and I used that stratagem, Gene Wrought Might, right? So basically means that every 6 you get for a hit just counts straight away as a wound, right? And for 1 point, it's brilliant if you're running intercessors, but poor Michael Wilson was going up against these like Space Marines, these Baby Marines that were like punching him and causing all these wounds with Gilly in the background hitting, re-rolling. It was like I was like, yeah, this is brilliant. And
so for those who's not aware, this is he didn't do this in the tournament. He done this in a battle report. This is not a tournament. He didn't do that in tournament.
I literally went from the tournament to doing the battle report that night, and I was like, I'm going to use this stratagem everyone's been telling me about.
I suppose the mistake you made there was you done the battle report straight after doing 5 games over 2 days, so you've knackered yourself out already doing 2 days worth of gaming, and then you on top of it, you've then dragged poor old Mikey as well, who's just also done that. You've pretty much been on the top tables the whole tournament as well. So you've had 5 pretty much intense. I've got to now think what I'm doing type games, which is fair play to you.
So I was going to say actually we've kind of glossed over that, but we did briefly talk about it when Darren was just doing his one, but it's the first time we've had an opportunity to absolutely congratulate and welcome the old Sean back to the fold, because
nobody's seen that list coming. I think there's a couple of things that like really help.
There's a wily old beep in there somewhere still, right?
There's a couple of things with that list, right? One is it was a new codex, so a lot of people probably weren't 100% aware of what like Marines can do. I don't think I got any of the rules wrong. I just think I think Ultramarines in some extents are like ridiculously powerful. There was a lot of people at your tournament who brought the Executioner tanks, and like I was chatting to them, and I was like, guys, you've totally gone the wrong loadout. Like you should be running. The thing is, right, it's really easy to run the macro plasmas if you've got 2 things. One, if your vehicle counts as it's stationary, you're firing that weapon twice, and in Ultramarines you can move and shoot. There's just loads of little gimmicky rules that allow you to do that. And then the second thing is, I think the biggest stratagem I took away from it was like just the ability to do that like focus defense. I believe that's the one. It's a stratagem for 2 points in the Ultramarine. So I've built this Ultramarine list that basically it's got like Gilliman in it as my warlord, so I get an extra 3 points. So I'm up to like 8, and then you take or I think I had like 11 points, and then I was taken to warlord traits, and I was able to get command back on a 5 or a 6 if I use my own ones, and then you've got like Tigurius in your army who's giving you an extra point. So by the end of the game, I have like 16 command points. I'm literally like I'm just generating them like there's no tomorrow. And that defensive focus, like for the Ultramarines, is incredible. You're picking 3 units within 6 inches of a unit that's been charged. So you basically bubble wrap 2 Executioner tanks. So what you have in your Overwatch is you have your 10-man intercessor squad, or let's say in my case, I think I had 2 squads of 8. So they're overwatching. Then you're picking 3 other units. So you're normally picking another squad of intercessors. You've got the first unit that's being charged, unless you can deny Overwatch. Then you're picking another intercessor unit. So now you're up to 2 intercessor units and 2 of these like tanks. And I think at one stage Darren bought and they're all bubble wrapped around Gilliman. Like Gilliman's within that 6 inches. So there were a couple of games where I think I had played the Tyranid player James, and he must have thrown, I think James threw something like 60 Tyranid warriors or guns or whatever they are into my line. And by the start of my turn 1 or turn 2, he just had like they were gene stealers. That's what he had. So he uses that like that swarm world power. Yeah, he was like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. And to be honest with you, you nearly needed like a flow chart of what guns have shot. Like I think Darren came around halfway through the tournament. He's like, man, you're not even shooting all your guns. You've got like another like these 2d6 rocket pods, and I was like, oh, as if I needed that advice. I was like, oh yeah, cheers, thanks.
Yeah.
I think I then played. I played. Who did I play from Scotland again? Ace. He's a nice
Will.
chappy. Yeah, that's right, Will. So
I
I played
kept on calling
Will.
Gavel
And
Weekend.
again, I felt like it was. Again, it's just one of those things. Like Will's got this combat army. It charges across the board. It holds all the objectives, and it just deals out brutal mortal wounds to the big units. And his like crude hands. Like it was like it's not even a game. You're just rolling so many dice, re-rolling to hit and wound. It is brutal. But the other one that I like as well that's worth sharing with people is or what it's called Wrath of the Machine Spirit. So there was one instance in my first game where this guy used like the big executioner laser gun. He shot one of my repulsor executioners. So he blew up my tank. But what he did was he started with his biggest gun first. So I went, okay, well, I've only got like 3 wounds left. That is gone off the table. But I'm going to spend 2 command points. I'm going to shoot my gun back. And I went, okay, well, count as stationary. So I rolled 2 dice and I rolled nice and high, got a nice big 11. Obviously the tank's dying, so like nobody cares if they're going to overcharge it. So I went, I'll overcharge it. So strength 9 minus 4, like 2 damage apiece. Obviously, my commander, Rabute Gilliman, is standing beside me. So I'm hitting on like 3s. Like there's no minuses because I count as stationary. So hitting 3s. I reroll my hits. I'm strength 9, so I'm wounding on 3s. Rerolling 1s to wound. And I think I shot back. And of like the 11 shots, I think I ended up putting about, I think it was like about 8 went through. So that's like full. I think he'd 1 or 2 wounds from the previous turn from some bolter fire, but I literally blew it up. And I think Toby was walking by at the same time. And I always have these moments at tournaments where Toby's just like dancing around the room, beer in hand. He's having a great time. And I'm like, oh, Toby, watch this. So I roll the 11. I blow his tank up. The guy's like totally like, what just happened? I don't understand what just happened. And then, of course, he was like, oh, you blew my tank up. I'm now going to spend 1 stratagem point to fire my Gatling cannon back. So, I mean, it was really fluffy and cinematic. Like, you just imagine these 2 tank commanders, like, riddled with holes, gritted teeth, just like, we're just hammering each other. It was, it was a good moment for me. Like, that was, like, I was like, that was pretty cool. Like, what's the chances of witnessing seeing that? So 2 repulsors and a squad of Marines just vaporized from 1 action. So that was good. So yeah. And then I actually got really lucky the whole tournament. I don't think I rolled less than 8 with my big plasma gun. So it was just like these overcharged like hell blasters blowing everything. And I had 2 of them as well. Like it was just I think that's going to be a list that I'd like to finish off and use. I think there's definitely weak armies that I'll really struggle against, but I think I can see you guys having to tailor your list to take it on.
So we've got some fighting talk there, Sean. We have got some fighting
Darren Allen, yeah. So what are you taking in your list? Well, I'm going to take this. And then he's like, well, okay, give me like half hour. I'm just going to look in my cabinet, see what I'll cobble something together, like as if like, oh, it don't worry, it won't be powerful at all. And then it'll literally be like, yeah, that's all got in-run saves, and I can't hit that. Oh yeah, just had it lying around. It was just like, this like, just pretend this like Demon Prince is these weapons. We'll just play it like that. These melter guns, they'll be butcher cannons because they're really good.
Hold on, are you knocking my Leviathans by any chance?
I don't have a problem with the Leviathans. I think I played them last time. They were good fun.
We would like to welcome you back to the tournament side, the competitive side.
We want to officially welcome Sean back to the competitive world.
You're not getting You're not getting any nibbles in that sense. I went away for a year and I played with like.
No, and it's really cool that you're back, Sean. It's we're generally chuffed you're back because like we honestly thought that you would have come away with 5 draws.
I will steamroll you, and you will not be given it like, ooh, it's good to have you back. You'll probably just push your glasses up your nose 3 or 4 times and not talk to me.
Look, that's absolutely cool, man. Because like, as soon as you step up your game, that means I have to step up my game. It means the power creep is real. Like the competitive side of it is going to be going through the roof, and that's friggin' awesome. I like that. That's cool. And like me and you, we've
turned up with an Iron Hands army that he's like sprayed silver.
yeah. Do you remember those Spaceballs?
I just had this lying around.
Do you remember those Spaceballs I had? Well, I changed my mind. They accidentally fell in the black, and yeah.
Listen, look, I welcome you back to Power Gaming as well. You know, it's good to see that you're taking this seriously, and I think it's only good for the community and people on the channel. They're going to really enjoy that. Like, you know, it'll be a really good start to see something other than Thousand Suns or Orcs.
Do you know what? I remember the best game we've ever had. There's 2 games that always stuck in my mind. What we've had.
I'm not even getting into this one. I'm gonna mute you on my side.
Well, I'm gonna tell everyone down in the shop, and we're playing Tyranids versus this is like back in 5th when Epidemius was a thing, and you had like the Chaos Space Marines, and you was buffing up your Chaos Space Marines to like some silly amount of damage before the FAQ.
Is he still talking? Oh, he is.
Yeah, still talking, and it all come down to this one Tyranid on the objective. And I remember how salty you were at the end of it. It was just down to that one dude that won the game. Love it. And then the other one was the what was that? The Broken Alliance. Do you remember that?
Oh man, listen. Oh man, John. Darren's got this one little game he likes to do. It's like 3v2. And I've literally, for the last decade, he always brings it up. Why don't we play this? It's basically a 3-way game of 40k, which is a physically impossible thing to do because, like, someone's going last, like, twice, and they just get decimated.
Well, no, you can have more than 3 people in it.
Oh, we started. Look, he's desperate to play it.
I love it.
I wasn't a big fan. We played at no retreat. It didn't do anything for me.
No,
imagine.
No, that's because Sean decided that we was all meant to have 500 points, and Sean had 1,000 points.
Oh yeah, I do remember that actually. Like his captain got more and more upgrades on him, didn't he? Like he's like, I've got an iron halo. I've got this power fist.
I've got this combi melter plasma that's gonna, you know.
I actually do remember that, actually.
Where was this? At No Retreat?
Yeah, this was No Retreat. And that's when the room got evacuated.
That one?
The room got evacuated because there's a bad smell.
Oh, mate, really stank.
But no, I do remember that actually really well because that was.
I remember Lawrence Baker losing his shit over it. He was like, oh my god, Darren's got a real problem. I remember people like crying. Honestly, it was like a form of pepper spray. It wasn't even like pepper. Like it cleared an entire venue out, and then it lingered for so long. And just no describing it. Like you had to be in the building. Like people went from one room, which was a room that would comfortably fit like 24 people who could play, you know, on 12 tables, to the other side of the venue, and people were concerned for you, man. They thought you were really ill, like you were gonna die. Like
it was all the beer and all the nice food over in Gibraltar.
I'm fairly sure I was angry with you as well. Like I was really angry with you.
What is that with you, dude?
I'd love to know if anyone from SN was there that day and they can remember it if they're on the chat. Like have a wee look in the chat and see if Stephen or Nick or someone's there. They must remember it. Oh, I feel sick.
Let's have a gander. Let's see. So no,
I remember we stopped. We had to stop, didn't we? We had to stop for about like 10 minutes and like to literally evacuate.
Open windows and doors.
That was one of quite a few that weekend as well, Darren. You were on form.
It wasn't just me. It wasn't just me as well.
I don't know. That smell was very.
I think Winters was on form as well.
Mate, there are nurses in hospital who go their entire career and not smell something that bad.
Well, when you play 40k, it just brings out the worst in yourself, unfortunately. So,
I swear you must spend like 3 days building up for it, like just eating beans and like Brussels
see,
sprouts.
the trick is you find the most rottenest food that you could possibly can, have a couple of beers, and I know my best buddy Sean's going to be there, so I know I've got to violate his nose, and I specially, make it just for Sean.
Come 10 o'clock, you can see him standing over by the coffee machine. And get like it's time that we like bells.
Hey Sean, come here, come give me a cuddle.
It was classic. It was classic. There's no.
And if he's not dropping his guts, right? He's walking around with those monster fingers nipping people. Like that's the worst.
The beautiful thing about it, Sean, is you're just so easy to troll, and that's the beautiful thing about it. You're so easy, and I know how much it gets you. So it's brilliant. Just go and stand up
show people the instruments you'd be nipping them with.
You love it. Anyway, Sean. So what's been on?
I remember actually when we went out like me and Darren. We went out. We went out like we were the only ones that went out for a like big old session, like one of the nights. And like to be fair, to give you credit, you drunk me under the table that night. But it got to the stage. No, it was just me and Darren. This was not the time that you got absolutely hammered and decided to coat me in champagne. This was another one. This was when like me and Darren went out. I think it might have been the Horus Heresy one. It might have just been me and Darren.
Yeah.
But like we're in this club, and like Darren's like he's hammered. He's chasing me around with those fingers. Like this is a packed club, and he's chasing me around. Because I bantered him, so I'd taken the right old mick out of him, and rather than like keep dishing it out, he's chasing me around, trying to pinch me with his big old fat fingers.
The thing is, you were stopping and letting me do it. That was the scary thing about it.
Because I was drunk as well, mate.
The other thing is, you're also in Gibraltar, probably like surrounded by like a load of women who've got off some cruise ship. You're looking for two guys, and you've got Darren chasing you after, trying to nip you like a kids club, like as if you're at the crash.
They're probably like, "What the hell is going on here?"
Yeah,
that was a good night.
Do you remember the MP police officer who had to step in with the guy from the SAS because I kept making fun of the shorts?
Yes, I do. That was quite dangerous. I was a lot more sober than I should be then, and I remember like thinking this is a bit of a worry because you were getting like quite competitive with this SAS guy. It was hilarious.
Do you know the crazy thing was he was actually incredibly small, and that's the scariest thing about it. Like those guys don't have to be built like tanks. Like they're just, you could say the wrong thing and then they could just like lose it.
Anyway. We're digressing.
And I kept under the colour of his shorts or something. I don't know. It was just a bit weird.
Let's get back on topic because we are
cheaters quickly because I've got 15 minutes before I'm going to bed.
That's it. So let's talk about cheaters. Obviously, weekends come up and gone. We've had the London GTs come and gone, and obviously there's been some things about cheating on there as well, and it's really pretty much what other people's views are on regards to it. Now, obviously. Playing 40k, you can easily make mistakes.
That's what I want to
say that again.
Have you ever been cheated in the game?
Yes.
What's happened to you?
So, one of the games was.
Don't go into too much details if it's going to give something away.
Yeah, I'm just trying to word it without saying too much. So one game that I was on, obviously couldn't see the clock. The clock was behind me, so I couldn't really see it. There's a couple of things where. The chaps whack their models like this is too close, but it was like go back in 6th, end of 6th, 7th. So deep striked in too close to the models, and it's like you have to put them back. Because you're too far because it was just within that range of melter. So as they deep striked in, they moved them, and then they were nudging them forward, and it's like, come on, guys, you know you're out, so let's not do that. And then the whole way through it was like but with the timer, this is the last thing. We've only got 15 minutes left. We call it this is the end of the turn. So it come down that we'd scored more, and then obviously when he handed the things in, they put it as the score was the other way around, and it turned out we didn't have 15 minutes left. We actually had half an hour left. So they tried try cheating me on the point side and that, so that kind of sucked. And then another one was with the cards. So doing one of the local tournaments to ourselves, playing a chap that was using Dark Angels, and then when he was playing it, he pulled out the hold 3 objectives. Hold all six objectives to get the
domination.
Domination, that's it. But what he was doing is when he was pulling those cards out, he was marking them down on a bit of paper and he was putting the cards back into the deck. But what he'd done, I noticed on that one, he pulled that same card twice within like 2 turns. I was like, well, how have you got that back out? You can't physically get that card twice. And he's like, no, I never had it the first time.
I think if people wanted to, they could easily stack their deck if you're just playing a certain way.
And this is one of the things I love.
You're not going to.
Oh yeah, of course you can. And this is what I like.
You could go to an event. Like I'm just kind of riffing here, but you could go to an event and you could have someone who would absolutely stack their deck with like multiple ones, and there's literally nothing you could do. Like they could take the shit cards out. Sorry, pardon my language, but you're never going to look through them, are you? You're never going to look through the deck and say,
no.
Oh, you've got like 30 cards. You wouldn't even notice that there are 15 less cards. You're just cutting the deck most of the time. That's
that's spot on. So, with that guy, he was, purposely stacking those cards in a way that, he could have pulled anything out. And this is the funny thing about the whole thing. He cheated with the cards, but it wouldn't won him the tournament. So I don't see what the point was of it. If it was like whoever won that game was going to come third, second, or first, then yeah, cool. But it was not. We were towards the bottom, so I didn't understand his logic on cheating that side. It just blew my head. It's just like, well, guy, man, if you have to cheat to win, then what's the point?
Yeah. What about you, John?
I'm trying to think.
Where's your camera gone? What are you doing?
Me, it's here. Can you not see me?
You've dropped off on my end. I don't know.
It's probably your poor internet.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Like, I can't think of really anything specifically. Like, I suppose the biggest issue that I have is when, and this has happened to me, when you play by intent. So you'll say to somebody like, how far do I need to charge? And you agree. You go, oh yeah, it's 6 inches or whatever. So you roll the dice, and then they're like, well, hang on a minute, let's just check that. No, you needed more than that, or and the same is like, so you beginning of the game, you'll say, can I just double check you can't see anything? So can you see any of my models? And they go, yeah. So you move it a little bit. Can you see any models now? And they'll be like, no, they're all blocked now. Can't see anything. And then it gets their turn, and they're like, oh no, actually I can see you, so I'm going to shoot you. And actually they can, but like that's that kind of like social agreement that you're playing like that type of game. And I've had, I've had that happen a few times, and that annoys me, because I'm a bit like, well, hang on a minute, like this is not the sort of game, you don't play that type of way, that upsets me a little bit. But I suppose like the actual out and out cheating, I don't think I've had that too much. I've had people that are like that, just their temperament in games is not great. So they're not playing in the spirit of things. Either they're like really aggressive in the game, or they're clearly being a bit sneaky, but you can't quite work out what they're doing. I've had that type of thing happen, but like out and out cheating, I've been very, very fortunate that it's not really come up that much. But I've heard the horror stories, and there's definitely, I think it's something that as a community, like I think that, so Stephen Box from Vanguard Tactics was the person that kind of brought this up and made a video of it. That's gone a little bit viral, and people are kind of really, really kind of got their own opinion in that on. And
good for him.
I agree.
If we don't tackle that, do you know what I mean? Whether, I think sometimes you can put videos up like that when it's really raw in the moment, but I think as a community, like we should say like this is what like should be socially accepted. This should be the norm. This is what we don't believe in. And multiple different games have it out there. We have referees to call judgments whereby we've all got loads and loads of books and different rules, and it's like, well, I think this, I think that. You may know the rules better than myself. What's the ruling on it? Like, I don't think I've ever argued with a judge. I don't really see the point in it. I mean, sometimes you're a bit like, well, I think it's done this way, and you can then carry that conversation on afterwards.
Yeah,
like, I think I had
sure.
it at the start of 8th edition with Chris. Like, there was that, like, does Gilliman count as if he's dead when he goes down the first time? Even though he gets back up, like, there's nothing in the ruling, but then, what Chris is saying is right and what I'm saying are right. And it's a bit like, well, an FAQ would be brilliant here. Like, that's what an FAQ is for, really.
Yeah, I agree. No, totally.
I think if you're acting up at tournaments and you're not particularly fun to play, because I think the other thing is, yes, you go to a tournament to try and rank and do, a lot of people do, and do the best you can, but you still don't spend 50, 60 quid to literally have someone be a jerk across the table for you. So there's kind of like a social contract there that everybody signs up to, whether they realise it or not.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because that's 2.5 to 3 hours you're going to be with that person, unless they've really cheated you and spanked you turn one and it's over in 10-15 minutes. Then that's different.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing there is, like, look, nobody wants a salty game. It is pretty brutal. It's interesting, like, when you get your back up, how you react to somebody who then gets their back up, and then suddenly, like, you can barely play a game, right? Like, it just doesn't become fun then.
No, and I suppose the thing we've got to look upon is, like, as a community, obviously, we are now doing tournaments, and how do we police this? How do we, go forward?
Your turn is really good, actually. I don't think
we've had no issues at all with the tournament.
And you've got some really competitive players there, haven't you?
Yeah, like, everyone got on really well. Everyone got cool. There was no problems with rules, no problem with slow play. All games pretty much got done in time.
Franco pulled out a chess clock on me, right? And he was like, "I'm going to use a chess clock," and I was like, "Yeah, man, go for it." Like, I used a chess clock when I was playing my war convocation, and I had so many rules that I put a timer on my phone to speed me up. So he was coming from that end, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'll play with that. I got a tiny army here." And then halfway through the game, he was like, "Hey, I'm sick of using this chess clock." He's like, "I'm using way much more time than you," and I was like, "Yeah, man, that's cool, But if you play someone who just pulls a chess clock on you that you've never met before, like, even that can be daunting. I think you need to have that, like, that whole, your game is dictated by, like, what you agree at the start, right? Like,
I agree. Totally.
How do we determine what the terrain is? Like, this is how it'll affect me. This is how it'll affect you. If I have it in my, if this little piece here gives me this, I think it's only fair you have that, and then figure out what the middle is, where your line of sight blocking is. How do you want to play? Like, what counts as a cocked dice? How do you play it? And everything to, right? Like, if we have an issue with a rule, like, and we can't solve it after like 5 minutes, I'm not here to waste my time. I know you're not. You just want to roll the dice off and, like, like, that's really how I do my rules. The only time I ever, like, call judges into it, just as me personally speaking, I'm just going to throw it out there, is, like, if I genuinely don't know a rule, right, not to do someone over, but, like, if I think that I'm maybe in the wrong here as well, I'll be like, look, let's just get, like, a second opinion, because then there's no walking away from that game being like, yeah, that Irish guy, like, he pulls some crazy stuff on me. Like, it's always like, look, I think I can do this. What do you think? They'll say that, and be like, look, would you mind if I get a judge, just so I can walk away with a clear mind that, like, I haven't made something up on somebody.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. That might have been one of the most impressive things I've ever heard you say, Sean. That was so well worded. I'm impressed. That was sense. That was, like, almost like you thought that through.
Ah, yes, John. Well, listen, look, I'm welcome. I'm happy to welcome you back to the
and that is called a fight
of 40k. Like, it's so good you and Darren have turned back up, and we've missed you for a long time.
No, all joking apart, like seriously though, that I think that's really good advice, and it is around that initial conversation. I think it's so important. That is how you set the tempo for the game. And I think like literally, if you're listening to this and you're kind of like, well, that is probably one of the most key things because you do, and you can suss it out then, can't you? So like, if you get somebody that is super intense, that's the way they're going to play the game. At least you know it, So you're not going to
From the start. If you know from the start and they're honest with you, like
Yeah.
you know what you're getting into.
Yeah,
And
you're not going to get
those
your pants pulled down in halfway through the game, then are you? You know where you are.
Yeah, I think so. I think the other thing is though that doesn't just come from yourself as a player. Well, it kind of does. Like I think it takes honesty from your side to your opponent to say like, look, if I'm playing a little bit quickly, or if you've never like, have you ever played this army? Like that's the other thing. Like trying to think
Yeah,
someone's played it, or if you know your army. Like if you go into multiple tournaments, or you're playing loads of games with your local gaming club, and your army has like, and it's on stratagems, or you've got like 50 different rules that lets you just make like a crazy list. Like take some initiative and like print out a spare copy of your stratagem cards that you use most regularly. Give them like a little PDF of the rules. Like I used to play the War Convocation, and it was like, and I know I've mentioned a lot of the times, but like that list was super complicated. Like I could like Darren, you'll testify to this. I could literally do whatever I wanted in the game. So the first two turns, I was like, you know what, you've got a lot of shooting, so I want to improve my like cover save by +2 across the board. That was 7th edition. So
That
like
game
basically
was,
people were hitting
yeah.
me and I'd have a 2-up save all the time. And I could do that for 2 turns. And then the next thing is at the flick of a switch, I could just say, well, right, I'm gonna all my units are going to be +2 strength. So you take the dragoons with like the spears, and they go in at like strength 10, exploding sixes, 5 or 6 attacks each. Like I can't remember, maybe there were 4 attacks.
Thankfully, that's a thing of the past, and that's the back of
Yeah, it is a thing of the past. But the point is, right, there are still lists out there that play in a very similar manner, whereby you have a lot of special rules. So, for example, if you're playing if you're a demon player and you're going to play plate bearers and they're really hard to hit, right? And you know that your army relies on that tactic every time. Like, there's nothing wrong with just having a little PDF being like, right, look, the ball piper's -1. The squad is -1 when it's over so many numbers. That gets me to -2. I can also put this psychic power on them as well. Do you know what I mean? Or whatnot. And showing people. And they can be like, because even if they can't follow it, and
yeah,
they don't know what's going on, you've still shown the intent that, look, these are all my rules, right? Like, I'm not pulling a fast one on you. If you've got any questions, ask me. And it just, like, there's nothing worse than being at a table trying to learn a new rule and someone's like, like, look at the new Space Marines. There's a perfect example, right? Like, you look at probably what some of the Iron Warriors can do, or I always find maybe it's like with armies people have never played, like Eldar. That's a perfect example where they can just stack loads of abilities.
The thing is, when you play an army that you're not familiar with, it's easy to. It's like if you play someone that's not too familiar with the rules or are confused with the rules themselves, it can be a challenge when you play that game, and they could pull anything out on you, and you don't know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I don't think like obviously. What you can't do is you can't control your opponent. You can ask them the questions, and then they generally deserve to give you the correct answers. But what you can do is you can set the tempo again. So exactly as Sean said, like I mean, what I'll tend to do with like my Tyranids is I'll explain my tricks. So I'll say, look, particularly so. Not for my no retreat list because I don't have points, but like for my last few lists, I've had this spore mine formation. So I have the reinforcement points, and then I spend on my spore mines that then go out and they basically alpha strike something first turn. So I'll explain to people. I'll say, look, I've got 90 points of reinforcement points. What I almost always use these for is I'll use them for the spore mine formation, which will be a unit of spore mines will deploy like 12 inches away from you, and then I'll be able to move them, and quite often they can hit something first turn. So just be wary of that. Like, and I'll tell them that like straight off the bat. Whether they kind of put two and two together and really kind of understand how how crazy that can be, like that's up to them. But I'll still, at least then when it happens, I kind of like, well, we had this chat and I kind of told you, and then hopefully if I've kind of volunteered that information, if there's some sort of like alpha strike, some trick that they've got, they'll also be like, well, I just don't know if you know, but my army does this or does this. I'm just gonna let you know, and that's like that initial social contract, because it's not around. You don't beat somebody in this game by tricking them. You beat them by outplaying them. That's what the game's all about. That's what it's meant to be fun. Like it's not. There's an element of luck always, and there always will be. But it's around like the tactical approach. It's not around like trying to get somebody or trying to trick somebody. So that's what I think. Anyway, that's how I play. That's how I try to play my games.
And it's cool if you go through your army and what they can and can't do. Obviously, not telling your opponent everything they can do, because obviously you want to leave some surprise, some part of the surprise element in there, right?
Well, you're not going to go. Well, I'm going to. You're not
to the top table. Most people know what each army does in some capacity, anyway.
Yeah, and you're not going to go right, and I'm going to target this unit first. So this is the one you want to hide and stuff. You're not going to go that far. But like, it's a case of more, giving them enough information so you're not tricking them. You're making them make the decisions rather than them making a mistake because they don't know it. There's no point in winning because they don't know something. You want to beat them because you've outplayed them, because they've not like understood something, as far as they don't understand the importance of something is fine. Like if their priorities are wrong, or they underestimate something, that's their fault. But you don't want to beat them through it being like a trick, I suppose is where I'm at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally with you on that. Totally with you on that. Is this where we lose you, Sean, or are you going to stick on to the end?
No, I'm gonna pop off here because I got to get up really early in the morning and do some work. So I will love you and leave you, and I will see you tomorrow. Or I'll give you a call maybe Saturday.
Cool. As Sean drops off, we're just going to readjust the camera.
Take care, Sean.
Bye. Speak to you soon, John.
Bye.
Cool. So that leaves us with me and Ace. I'll just quickly readjust this so we can put that back in. So, bear with me 2 seconds. So you get to see more of my ugly mug. I have been told I've got a face for the radio.
Who would say such a cruel thing?
You.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Let's be open and honest, right?
Yeah.
But listen, I know that's the case, but that's how it is. So, John, moving into the final part of the show, let's talk Iron Hands. Now,
yeah, and also, guys, before we go into Iron Hands, like we all say this like quite late on, and then people probably like logging off and stuff. At the end of when we finish talking about Iron Hands, we'll take some questions. So, like, if you've got some kind of questions and stuff, and you can think of something, then give us some questions at the end of the show. So we'll give you a prompt. But if there's things that you want to ask us about anything we've spoken about or anything else, then chuck it in the comments at the end. Not yet, when we get to the end. But sorry, Darren, I just thought we always do that last minute and don't give people time. So I'm giving you the warning now that in about 10-15 minutes, we'll take some questions.
No, that'd be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. So, John, you've had a chance to now play with the Iron Hands. You've had a chance to read the Codex, and you've had a chance to have a feel for the goodness. Of course, you haven't had a chance to play with Mr. Captain Claw himself just yet.
No.
Talk me through, what was your first impressions of the Iron Hands?
Well, they are super, super good. Everyone's right in thinking exactly what people are saying. They are ridiculously strong. The one thing that kind of leaps off the page is with most armies you have kind of like one thing or another. So let's take some examples of some armies that are currently very meta armies that are doing well. So let's take, for instance, the Genestealer Cult. Genestealer Cult doing very, very well out there in the meta, winning a lot of stuff. Very successful army, right? They are very much like a glass hammer, right? So they hit stuff really, really hard. They are a little bit susceptible to bad rolls because they need those charges. but they die super easy. So they're very, very fragile, but they hit incredibly hard, right?
Yes, 100% on that.
Yeah. So then you've got like the knights, for instance. Like, you have a knight army. They don't have the numbers, so they're going to struggle with taking those objectives. Yeah. But they hit really hard, and they're also like quite resilient. So you've got like most armies have like an inherent like weakness. So they have something that they're very good at, or a couple of things that they're very good at, and then they have maybe like one or two things that they are kind of almost like their Achilles heel.
Yes.
The one thing that jumps off the page with Iron Hands is they don't really have that. So they are incredibly powerful in an alpha strike or an offensive point of view, because the first thing that you're going to see from them is because their abilities function around the heavy doctrine, so the Devastator doctrine, which probably the biggest thing about that is you start off in it. So whether you're like Ultramarines or your White Scars or your Raven Guard or whatever else is to come potentially, the big thing with a lot of those is they're really, really strong, but they need to be in either the Assault Doctrine or they need to be in the Tactical Doctrine. All those you have to get to, so you can't just go straight into them from turn one. The Iron Hands, they want to be in the Devastator Doctrine, and you start off in the Devastator Doctrine. So they don't ever really need to move to make the best out of what they've kind of got going for them. So it means that you're straight away, if you're playing them, you're already up against it. So you haven't got like a turn to react. You straight away got to accept that they're going to be hitting you with all their maximum capability straight off the bat. So that's from a offensive point of view, really, really super scary. The fact that their chapter tactics themselves are incredibly powerful, with basically a Tau Overwatch. So they Overwatch on 5s.
Oh wow.
And their vehicles always count as having twice as many wounds as they have.
Yeah. Okay. So this is, they don't actually have double the wounds, but it's more for the fact that when you're doing the modifiers, they count as that.
So they count as, so yeah. So like they don't have them, so they still die just as quickly as any of the others potentially. I mean, they don't because of other reasons, but they for that doesn't affect that. But what it does affect is exactly that. So it means that particularly if you're on something that hasn't got super amount of wounds, so I don't know, like like small flyers, for instance, use that as an example. Small flyers, they don't have loads and loads of wounds. They only have like 10, 11 wounds, which means that like with their deterioration, they are they're not ever really depreciating in Iron Hands, because you're always doubling up those amount of wounds for where their profile sits. They're kind of almost always, until they're basically dead, they're on top bracket.
Ouch.
So both those two things in themselves are super powerful, and then they have a third chapter tactic, which is that they have a 6-up feel no pain. And that is like having a few extra guys. So it's basically just getting more troops for your points almost, because across the army that equates to, say, that you're a repulsor. Suddenly your repulsor's actually got like an extra 2 wounds. You've got like an extra 2 or 3 like guys across your whole army. What you're getting is you're getting more value for your points. So even though it's not something huge, it's only a 6 across the game and across all your units, you're going to make like a few of them every now and again.
So that's pretty good. So like straight away, there's a lot of things you've already said that makes them super, super, super strong.
Yeah. So that's kind of like their basic stuff that they've just got. That's really super easy as well. So none of those things, like, you don't need to be a tactical genius to make the most of any of that stuff. That stuff's
You could just slap anything together and then just fire it up the board.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. So that's all just stuff that just makes you better, and you don't have to think about it. You don't have to change. You don't have to go on like you don't have to kind of go right now. It's turn two. Now I need to change into tactical doctrine, and I need to be here. I need to use this. You don't. Just start off as you are. Shoot your guns. You're not going to get worse particularly quickly. You're pretty resilient. Like yeah. So just off the bat, they're a really forgiving, like really durable army. And then on top of that, you've just got some crazy good relics and stratagems. So I'm not going to go through absolutely all of them, but the ones that like really sprang to mind for me, the ones that I thought were like really good, were the one that everyone's going probably most nuts about, which is a relic called the Ironstone.
Okay.
And the Ironstone, you put it on your character, so you put it on any character. So in my game, I put it on my chaplain, my warlord. So you put it on any of your non-named characters, and what that relic does is that relic minuses one from the damage for vehicles within 3 inches of that character.
Oh wow.
So you imagine like so this guy, he's sitting next to his repulsor. And then this repulsor is already like toughness 8. It's already got that lovely little 6-up, like ignore wounds, feel no pain. But now on top of that, every wound that comes through on him, every damage roll that comes through on him, he's taking 1 from that damage. So if you've got like looters, for instance, that are doing like 2 damage,
2 damage
they're basically
apiece.
they're doing like 1 damage.
Wow.
Like that's like incredibly, and it would be bad. It would be strong if it was 1 unit. It's not 1 unit. It's every unit within 3 inches of that guy. So as you can imagine, you basically got a car park there. So you've got whatever vehicles, whether it be dreadnoughts, whether it be whatever you want. You can then have them all sitting around your character, all minusing that damage, all with that 6-up ignore thing. So you can see straight away that's making them pretty good.
Yeah, that's making it very good. So all of a sudden, straight away for me, I'm thinking, right, what can I bring to the table that's going to eliminate characters?
Yeah,
Jeez.
exactly.
So the scary thing about this, obviously, this supplement's come out and it's very strong. I'm very scared to see what Elder's going to become.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, a lot of people are saying, and this might not be right. This is just hearsay. A lot of people are saying that they might be just setting a precedent. Like Space Marines are their poster boys, right? So they might just be. They might now be for a while. They might just sit on the top of the tree. Like I think that things will get better. So I think in the new like Awakened Storm and what have you, you're going to see armies that will improve and that will make the gap of that power level smaller. But what people are potentially, suggesting is maybe you're going to see Marines at the top for a while. They're just going to be, oh, sorry guys, my compressor's decided it's going to turn on. It will turn off in a second. That might just be the new power for a little while that we might just have to kind of put up with. So I don't know. So that's one of the things. I'm going to go through a couple of other little bits and pieces that are also like quite special for the Iron Hands. So another thing that they've got, and I really like this, is you can spend a stratagem and you can make a dreadnought a character.
Yes. Is that Contemptor as well? Leviathan?
Can be any dreadnought.
Okay.
So like it has some benefits. So like the cool things with it is what that means. It has said you can't take any relics. It won't let you take any relics. But what you can do then is you can take additional warlord traits on them.
Yeah.
And some of the warlord traits are all right. But where it gets potentially a little bit silly is when you take some of the basic old-fashioned dreadnoughts, right?
Yep.
So you take like a venerable dreadnought. Well, the venerable dreadnoughts are BS2, so they hit on 2s, which is quite tasty. But by them making them a character, they've got under 10. You could buy yourself 3 venerable dreadnoughts, stack them all out with like las cannons or missile launchers, make them all characters. So now they can't be targeted. And then you could have then another 3 standard dreadnoughts, make them all characters, give them all las cannons. They can't be targeted either. Before you know it, you could have like an army of dreadnoughts, and as long as they're not the ones that are above 10 wounds, so I think contemptors are above 10 wounds, so you can't use the standard contemptors, but I think that you can use the mortis contemptors, which are like a basic contemptor. They are below, so you can use them. But basically, what you can do is you could just build an army of dreadnoughts that are all under 10 wounds. And on top of that, once you do get through to them, or you do find a way of targeting them, then they've got all that stuff that we've already spoken about that makes them super resilient.
So you just have a couple of lines of cheap chaff.
Yeah.
To stop them from being. Wow, that's.
Yeah. It's not bad, right?
That's not bad at all.
And also for me, I think that sounds actually really quite good fun. Like, I suppose it very much harks on my Carnifex list. I can imagine having like a dreadnought list again, because actually that makes dreadnoughts quite viable. You could even potentially take like close combat dreadnoughts, because they could run up behind your troops, and then because they wouldn't be able to get targeted, and then just smash something in the face at close range, which for me is pretty cool.
And then if you position your troops right, you could get them around, swamp the models, so once they do come out of combat, they've kind of meat shielded the dreadnought to go back in the game. Yeah, I like that.
So that's one thing. And then there is the big combo that people are going a bit nuts about, is obviously the Leviathan thing. And I haven't, to be honest, I've not super worked it out. And the reason why is I'm not, my Emperor's hands are a Primaris army. And as much as it's tempting, I will not be taking any relic sort of vehicles, so I will not be having Leviathans in there because mine are like a modern army. So I'm just not going to do it, even though I know they're really good. But what people are saying is basically you have ways of regenerating wounds heavily, like I've already said. So like the Iron Father, who's amazingly good, can like reroll, can put 3 wounds back on him. There are ways with warlord traits and stratagems to give them a 4-up feel no pain.
Oh wow!
So what you can do is you can have your Leviathan dreadnought that gets like, I think there's a way of almost getting him up to like regaining like 9 wounds a turn. You can have him almost like regaining like 9 wounds a turn. You can have him having a feel no pain on a 4+. He's already like toughness 8. And yeah, so someone was saying that someone had done the maths, and a Warlord Titan cannot kill a Leviathan in 1 round of shooting.
Oh wow!
With all the buffs. And I don't know exactly, I can't tell you exactly what those buffs are basically, but that's kind of how stupidly resilient the Leviathans are. So super crazy.
But that's only 1 Leviathan that you can get up to that standard, right?
I think so, yeah. I think so. But you can make that multiple silly resilient, like as I said, because you can have them all so they take minus the damage and all that good stuff. So you can do it like, yes, you might only be able to get 1 to the like absolute crazy levels, but you're going to be able to.
That's still pretty scary, but I suppose in that scenario, then you kind of got to ignore it.
Yeah.
Or even just try to tag it in combat. Okay, it's going to hit you in combat, but because I'm guessing you're going to be going with close, the shooting weapons.
Yeah,
it ain't really going to do much damage in combat.
So the combo that I'm really liking, and this is pretty tame in comparison to some of the stuff that's on the internet, but I really, really like it. So you take your chaplain, because I love the chaplain. I think he's amazing. You give him the litany that basically gives you +1 to wound. Now, the caveat for that is it's only +1 to wound against the closest enemy target. But generally with iron hands, it's basically things are going to have to come at you. They're going to have to try and do you in combat because they're not going to do you in shooting particularly easily. They need to get right in your face quickly. And then when you're shooting things with heavies, you're generally like hitting on threes, re-rolling ones, and then when you're wounding most things probably on twos because you'll be wounding them on threes.
Yep.
And then everything else you're wounding on like threes or fours, and you're wounding like knights even with only semi-good weapons on fours, which I found was incredibly powerful. So when I played Fabius and you wait to see the battle report, I found that super useful because he wanted to get in my face because he knew I had like a castle, and all my stuff were all hunkered around the chaplain, making sure that when he comes at me, everything I'm shooting at is big stuff, is all going to be like +1 to wound, which is really good.
That battle report's coming out this Friday.
It will be this Friday, yes.
Awesome.
Yes. It has to be because I'll be in Gibraltar from Friday, so it has to be.
Yeah.
No pressure on me because I still have loads of painting to do. But yeah. And then I suppose there's loads and loads of good stuff. So like there's loads of cool stuff to find. But one of the other things that's super good, which nobody else has, is they also have a lookout sir, like stratagem as well, where they can use, so if things do kind of target a character, you can do almost like the drone stratagem, actually take the wound on guys that are close by.
Oh, wow. So all of a sudden, these guys are going to be out shooting Tau.
Yeah, so you're like overwatching like Tau. You're managing to kind of locate your wounds onto them. But they are going to be the real deal. There's no doubt about it. They are going to hit you really hard. They're going to you're going to find it very, very, very difficult to get through them. Expect to see lots of those repulsor tanks. Potentially and most of the time you're going to see the executioner ones like Sean was raving about, because they're even better in iron hands than anyone else, because they're always going to be re-rolling ones no matter what, and because they're also never really deteriorating,
they're going to be super effective,
and you're struggling to kill them, and they've got Overwatch for days, so they're the real deal. So expect to see a lot of repulsors. Expect to see the Iron Father all the time. Expect to see the Iron Stone in every single one, because that will always be the case, because that relic is too good. Probably one of the best relics now in the game.
Is it pretty time for me to retire my looters?
Well, I don't know. I think looters still have a place, but they're definitely. I think generally orcs have a real hard time against the new Marines.
Yeah, they do indeed. So it's going to get more challenging times. I think it's more going to be a case of I need to rethink that list or readapt.
Yeah, and the thing is, Genes do the cult as well because of the interceptors. They really stop them. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I think it's going to be an interesting time as people work out how to play against the new Space Marines. And I've got Space Marines, but I very much don't consider myself a Space Marine player. So I think we're all in this boat together a little bit of just trying to figure out at the moment how to kind of best play them.
Because it's going to be interesting, because obviously the way I run my Gene Stealer cult is, it's kind of turn to I'm up in your grill very, very quickly. If I haven't get past you, if I can get through your screen, and I'm going to be a real nuisance to yourself. But that whole thing with the armor stopping you from getting in within 12 inches, that makes a massive great difference, because even if you go the 4-armed Emperor and you've got the +1 and you've got the guy giving you the extra +1, it's still a big. All right, granted, you've got a better chance of getting into combat, but that's still a big chance that you're not going to get into combat.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only thing I would say, I suppose, is, and it's not necessarily a saving grace, but it is one thing to kind of bear in mind, and particularly for players that play in Space Marines that aren't like your top players, they still, even though they had a lot of points decreases, they're still quite expensive, and they've got so many cool things that you can take. What you're going to find is they can't take them all. So you'll have certain Space Marine armies that you'll come across that will be good, but maybe they're not good against your army, or maybe they haven't got all the stuff that you're super scared of, because they've just got so many cool things. They've got to try and find a way of getting all the stuff they want in. So I think you're still going to find that
It's repulsive. Scare me, John.
repulsors are super scary, but if that's everybody, if people are just playing repulsors, we'll find a way around them. So I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, repulsors I think are very, very good. I've always thought they were good. I've thought they were good from the start, but I think a lot of people now are caught on to the fact that how good they are, and we are seeing them now everywhere. So I probably should get around to building my other two, shouldn't I? Really.
You should do, but we don't want you to, because it doesn't look great on the channel, mate. One's bad enough.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, but that's Iron Hands. But I mean, it's a super strong codex, or supplement, whatever you want to call it. It definitely is something that if you're not aware of, or you haven't had a chance to play, get yourself a copy of that. Talk to people that have got it. Start to learn what it's all about, because from everything that I'm hearing, they will be the plug and play codex. They are the new Ultramarines. You're going to need to know how to deal with them. If you don't, you're going to come up and you're going to find you have some pretty unfun games, because they're just going to go, well, I've got a trick for this, I've got a trick for this, I've got a trick for this, and before you know it, you don't have anything left. But
Struggle's going to be real.
Watch the game that I play with Fabius, because what I'm not going to give away anything, but what I will say is it's a close game, and Fabius is a very, very strong player, so you might learn a few things. So I'll leave it there for Iron Hands.
No, it's good, and it's a great way to end the show, really. So, so this is going to be the point where we're going to look into the chats, see if anyone's got any questions. So if there is anything you want to throw at us, this is a great time to do it. So we've come to that part of the night where it's coming to the close of the show, and it's getting time for bed.
Not for me. I've got to paint things for hours yet.
So let's have a look. We'll give it a couple of seconds to filter through. Let's hit all the Facebooks first of all, because the Facebooks are.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in this evening. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We are umming and ahhing around the format of this show, so you might see some changes over the coming weeks. We haven't quite decided on it yet, but we might make the show slightly more infrequent, but packed with maybe some more, guests and stuff. But we'll let you know if that happens. We're still kind of working out what's going to work best for us and hopefully for you. But thank you very much for listening tonight. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and it's been of some sort of entertainment and use. Hopefully I'll get this up as a podcast. I couldn't use the content last week because we had some audio issues with Andy's connection, unfortunately, but you can still watch it on YouTube, so you can kind of get most of it from there. So
how tasty are assault centurions with point drops?
Yeah, really good. They're really, really, really good.
Very, very good.
Yeah, they're strong. Definitely, they're a little bit of a hidden jewel. I think maybe in White Scars is the best way to play them. I think making the most of that assault doctrine. I have heard people speak about them. I've not read them in detail. I don't think they're obviously not. They're not. When we're talking, about Iron Hands. They're not like an Iron Hand unit really. They're with Iron Hand you want to be going pretty much all out shooting. I think they work in Ultramarines because there's some stratagems to use. But they definitely work really well in White Scars, I think. But yeah, good, really good.
White Scars would definitely be the way forward for them. Just getting out the board and causing some trouble. But yeah, they are definitely coming back. I was listening to another podcast earlier on today, Forge a Narrative, and it's quite funny because one of the guys on there was saying about he was giving his love on how long it takes him to build up the Centurions. I've never built one yet, so I don't know. I haven't come across that pain yet.
I've not either. No, I've never had that joy either. They look really super simple, don't they?
They do, but apparently it can take you up to a day to build 3. So
Really?
something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm not having any of them.
You ain't got time to build them, so it'd be going
building.
on.
I really hate building. I'm sending them to you, Darren.
I'll send them.
I still haven't decided whether Centurions are cheating in my force, whether they're still counted as little Marines or whether I can pass them. I'm not sure at the moment.
You'll be cheating on them, mate.
They're cheating, aren't they?
Yeah, because they're not Primaris. They're big and bulky, but they're not Primaris, are they really?
Yeah, I don't think I can have them. I'll have to just concentrate on the aggressors.
I tell you what I did find in my my cupboard earlier yesterday, John. Digging through my boxes, I found my white and green Space Marine army.
Really?
So they could be Sons of Medusa, couldn't they?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, absolutely.
All painted, already there.
Is it all painted? Is it, Darren?
Yeah, it's all painted. But mind you, these are they're the baby Marines. Then there's no Primaris in there.
Baby Marines are alright. They've got a place. There's some cool stuff you can do with them still.
Got a couple of dreadnoughts in there. I've got I have my version of the Iron Father in there.
Of course you do. Everyone's going to have a version of the Iron Father.
Yeah, it's just going to be a diddy one. That's all right.
Yeah, expect to see that everywhere. Like, literally, I think you're pretty justified. If someone turns around and goes, "This is my Iron Father," you're able to go, "No, my friend, that is not the model. You're not using it as your Iron Father."
No, mate,
because it is super good.
But yeah, I was quite chuffed when I come across it. I was like, "Oh, I forgot I had that army. I thought I'd chucked it or sold it or given it away." But yeah, it's still there. There's a couple of trays of it.
You know you've got a problem, Darren, when you've forgotten you've got an army.
Yeah, it was quite bad actually, going through the cupboard and realising there's bits of Forge World stuff that I haven't even taken out of the box.
Yeah, you got a problem, mate.
That's worrying, right? But yeah, it's one of those things, right? It's what I love. But for those that are still on, I have managed to get my Candy Knights up and running, nearly. So a little sneak peek. I've had to make a few little tweaks on them. As I started doing all the panels, it started looking too much like candy. And I don't want to put it on. It doesn't then become threatening if it reminds you of Christmas, right?
It's very true.
I did stay away from the green. Red and green should never be seen, right?
That's what they say.
But red and white reminds me of candy or the hairdressers.
Hairdressers. What, that little sign outside?
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's the thing. So I've done the sword, the chainsaw. I don't know if you can see that on there. But as I started doing it, it's like it looks like more like the old hairdresser's pole. And then when I've done the knee pads in that same thing, I was thinking, actually, do you know what? That's not cool at all. So
it's too much.
Yeah, it is a bit too much. I've gone a bit too far with it. So kind of gone back to the drawing board on that. I think I'm only going to go 50-50 white and red. So red on one side of the knee pad, white on the other. One thing we'll be putting out there hopefully soon, we're going to be able to offer custom decals as well. Some cool decals as well. So if you're looking for like white writing and stuff like that, hopefully we'll be able to offer something like that in the future. Still in the process of working that one out. But I've got some cool ideas that I want to put down on the night using the opportunity to use those decals. So hopefully this should see the rise of the Lunar Wolves, finger crossed, because that means I can do some really cool stuff to go onto my models. I've just got to work the colours out though. That's the thing with them.
You've been promising this for years though, so don't hold your breath, guys.
The rise of the Lunar Wolves has to come.
Yeah, I've heard this before.
The thing is, John, Games Workshop have got this habit of bringing out too many cool bloody things that make me want to spend my money on those, and it doesn't end up getting onto the table, right?
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I've got to say, can't argue with that.
And I'm sticking to my word with the Knights. I'm gonna finish these Knights off because Yeah, I want to take them up to the Scottish Takeover.
Sure.
Whether it's going to be a good choice or not, I don't know.
I don't want to play you.
Why not?
I don't like knights.
Why
Scare me.
Why do you not
No,
like knights?
no, to be fair, I can deal with knights, but
You can deal with knights quite easily. They're not. I don't.
I
think
played lots of knights actually at the LGT. So yeah, they're still very intimidating down the board. You're always like, whenever you come across knights, I always think you have to take a deep breath, and you're like, here we go.
Yeah, but like as soon as you start popping off the wounds, you know, with the Chaos Knights, they don't have that ability to shoot at full ballistic skill, do they?
No, they don't.
So there are some things in it. But anyway, let's have a look on the chat, see if there's any questions, and then we're going to call it a night. Nothing on YouTube. Raven Guard, Warlord, redeploy. Oh, okay. Or the Raven Guard for Warlord traits for redeploy. I haven't read that one. Have you?
See, no, I mean, I haven't hugely researched Raven Guard. I still think they're going to be quite good. Didn't jump off the page as much, but that's what people are saying. They are sort of sneaky, which kind of fits with their fluff. So yeah, we have to wait and see with them. I think there's some cool combos there, but yeah, not super up to speed with them. So kind of apologies there, guys.
I know Hellstorm have just done a battle report with them, so I might watch that in the week. See how they come across with the Raven Guard. Look forward to that.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, look, guys and girls, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, please do hit that like and subscribe. It helps us out massively. And hopefully we'll catch you back next week or when we do come back on. So thanks again, and we'll catch you all again soon.
Bye for now.